got to talk about Grant Langston. You know, all of a sudden he's not on the broadcast over COVID, which I'm dealing with COVID right now. It fucking sucks.
For the second time.
What's that?
For the second time.
Me?
Yeah.
No, this is my first time with COVID.
Oh, I apologize. I thought we were teasing that the first time it had knocked your butt around so bad you thought maybe you had it. So this is the first positive
I
test
had.
you
There's
got.
actually still other viruses too.
Yeah.
I thought I had.
I was trying to be a little bit sarcastic with that.
Oh
one.
yeah, no. There's actually other viruses. I had one, but this is actually COVID, according to the test the two tests that I've taken. So, but the vaccination, this is a real lightning rod, man. I don't even know where to go with it. I'm an American, and I know so many people. I think back, and I like to watch a lot of the History Channel shows and see the things that the people before us sacrificed to give us freedoms so we don't have to do things. And I look at, some of the horrible tragedies we've had with the Holocaust and stuff like that. How did they get there? And I look at little tiny things. And yes, it doesn't seem like very much when you take a little bit of freedom here, a little bit of freedom there. But I guarantee you the people that started and supported, some of those regimes thought they were doing the right thing. And I worry, and I don't know where this is going, and I don't know if it should. I don't know. It's confusing, but it scares me when they start taking our freedoms, Coach, and making us forced to do things.
I have to agree. If you're I'm not very good at history because I have a hard time retaining who did what to what, but I do know that when you start to lose your rights, you don't ever get them back. And we can't lose sight of that. And, for those that are pro-vaccine, it's one of those double-edged swords where it becomes, okay, I'm all about free speech and free choices, but if you don't take the vaccine, then they get filled with a lot of animosity. So I'm not quite sure. I mean, our listeners, we've had some very smart listeners. I would love some level of engagement with our listeners, whether it's in the comments or DMS or whatever. I just want to know where we go from here. I like the adjective that you used when you said we got hit with a lightning rod. Yes, we're not curing cancer. I'm not insinuating that whatsoever, but we do realize the value that GL brings, his insight, his experience, and everybody loves him. And so to lose that is difficult. The idea of why we lost it is a perfect example of what you just said. You lose one right and you lose one privilege. Well, then it starts to snowball. All I'm asking is, how do you reverse it? What is the reverse? In this case, yes, they brought in Emig, they replaced the commentator, but we've got to think bigger than that.
Well, and I have a problem with that. I follow the sport very closely, and I believe Jeff Emig was the one when the lights went out in Las Vegas in the 90s. The riders did not have any pay. They didn't have a points fund. There was nothing. The lights went out. The guys got together. They said, we're not racing. Yes, the lighting was bad, but it was not so bad that they couldn't race. They all agreed to say, stick it to the promoter and go. One guy crossed the picket line, and then a couple of them had to. It was Jeff Emig. I said, whoever filled in for Grant Langston kind of is being opportunistic, and that's a problem. And that makes it to where people can be exploited. And that's how the sport gets exploited by promoters. And that's why it is where it is. That's what's holding it back, is that all about me. Nobody's standing up. There's no, and I'm not all for unions or associations, but whatever happened is just standing up for the right thing, Coach.
Yeah. I have to almost, people that follow us for a long time realize our conversations are not scripted, and this would be a perfect example of it. Is Jeff being an opportunistic person because obviously he is vaccinated. That's a stupid comment for me to make, because obviously if he's vaccinated, he was eligible for the show. Was it, he was the only guy that was available? Because to your point though, Chris, he's making a stand to go get the vaccine, and then that business opportunity came, so he moved on it. Is that really being opportunistic, or it was because of his executive decision to get the vaccination, and which then made him eligible for a position that became available? You bring up a good point. And I like your word opportunistic. He chose to get the vaccine. Michaela and I were talking about this at dinner last night. What about when you hear some of these bakeries that won't serve someone because of sexual preference or religious orientation and things like that? I always play devil's advocate. Would I not, this is a double no, would I not buy a cake from somebody because they did serve someone or didn't serve someone? I'm just saying, I just want a cake. I don't understand if I have a restaurant and I do not make it requirement to have a mask and you feel that that's irresponsible, you have the right to not come into my restaurant. That's cool. But the door has to swing both ways. And in this case, I look at Jeff Emig. He's vaccinated. He believes in it. And so he got that job. Good for him. I think it's a little bit, it's a little bit different. But then what I get concerned about is now we create another level of polarization. So now he took the vaccine and now he's a bad guy because now he got the job, and we stand with someone who, I haven't gotten the vaccine, but I have my reasons why from a medical standpoint. I have my reasons why, but I'm not judging someone who does get it, but yet I get judged for not having it. And I have thick enough skin. I don't give two shits. If you want to be mad at me because I'm not going to get the vaccine, that's fine. I guess where my question comes at it from a medical standpoint is the vaccination was sold in on the idea that if you took the vaccine, you wouldn't get the virus. Well, that's been invalidated. They said if you got the vaccine, it would stop the spread of it. That's been invalidated. So what's the reason for forcing someone? Because now we go to, I'm not going to make a decision to take it based on the evidence that I've seen. I've seen the negative side effects of those who have taken it. If you, and just go an even split, 50% of the people get the vaccine, no adverse side effects. 50%, they have issues, heart attacks, whatever it may be. I'm looking at it. If I'm looking at it from a gambling standpoint, I'm 100% guaranteed not to get sick from the vaccine if I don't take the vaccine. So then if I go over and I do get the vaccine, I have to count on my immune system is strong enough that I can fight it. Now, I may die from getting COVID, but I understand that risk that goes with it. But I guess where I'm trying to get down to is, are we talking about the validity and the efficacy of the vaccine, which was originally sold in on, which has been invalidated? Now we're shifting it over to a loss of essentially a right. We're being forced to do something. Like, I'm not going to participate, I'm not going to patronize your restaurant if you say I have to be vaccinated to come in, because I respect that's your restaurant. Now,
what about an employee? That's where it gets weird, though.
Elaborate. What do you mean as an employee?
So you own your own business. What if you had, so you got your employees. What if you told your employees you can't work here unless you're vaccinated? Like that's so, then they can say, well, they can work somewhere else. But at what point do you stop deciding and classifying? Now, do you get to weigh people in and check their cholesterol and see if they're high risk because they're going to be a burden on the health system? Such a gray area. And the vaccine, people told me I was irresponsible for not getting the vaccine, because if you don't get the vaccine, you're a burden on the healthcare and you're the reason that it's overflowing. Is it even overflowing? I don't know.
But hold on, because you said something that's really important. Let's go 18 months ago when we didn't know much about the virus. That was a legitimate statement, right? Because it seemed to make sense. So they sold it in on the solution was get the vaccination, and that's going to stop the spreading and reduce the magnitude of the illness. I'm in. If you can validate it, when we were little, we had to get chickenpox vaccination because they validated that it worked, but it wasn't a vaccination that was run through in 6 months. Let's kind of keep the conversation in perspective. Now you come back to me owning the several companies that we own. If I own the company and my company is McDonald's, and I say, you must wear this outfit to work at my McDonald's, and you say, no, I'm sorry, you're going to get terminated. If I say that you have to have the vaccine, that's because I own. Now, all I'm saying, and I'm not getting into the morality of that, forcing it. I'm just saying, if this is the rules, this is the rules, right? Here's what I get concerned about. We didn't have, if you and I started a company tomorrow, we would have that opportunity to say, we're going to make a stand that you do or do not, whichever side of the fence. We're stuck in a situation of pre-existing businesses that are stuck into, because I am not going to take it. So I'm not going to require my employees to take it. But if someone that's for the vaccination says, I want my employees to have it, well, what sucks is you didn't start your business after the virus was already in place. So because the employees at that point could say, look, you know, like for example, I lost my mom to smoking with COPD. So I don't go to places where smoking is prevalent there. I know you can't smoke inside buildings, but back in the day, that was my choice not to go there. But the business owner said, it's cool, you can smoke here. And I respected that. I just didn't spend my money there. This is where this is going to zoom out to 10,000 feet, where if you and I start a business tomorrow, people know when they go to fill out a job application that we are either a for or against a vaccination, or let me rephrase that, mandating a vaccination or not. Because at that point, if I don't want to work weekends, and that job requires weekends, don't take the job and then be surprised you have to work weekends, because I'm probably going to quit or you're going to fire me. That's how you can break through the nebulous conversation of, is an employer forcing it on somebody? Well, they are in some instances, but the problem is it's already in it. They got kind of flowed over with, it didn't start it at the beginning.
Well, and that's the gray area. That's it. Like, okay, so if I'm working at a place and I want to keep my job and they say you have to get the vaccine, so I get the vaccine. In 5 years, if I have a illness because of the vaccine, are they liable? Are they going to take care of my family?
You can absolutely count on that's going to be the swelling of lawsuits like we've never seen, because you're going to see a lawsuit that's going to go after Pfizer. They're going to go after the employer. They're going to go after the government, the local government. They're going to go at the state government. Everybody that goes back and says you must have it. But that's what's coming. Because I love Jeff Foxworthy when he says in the stand-up comedian shows, when you're watching 11 late night cable and it says, have you ever been exposed to blank, blank, blank? You might be entitled to millions, right? Think about what this is going to be. It's going to be an absolute feeding frenzy for an attorney, because they were forced into something. I mean, think about it. I'm not an attorney. I certainly don't know the law. When I'm 8 years down the line and I find that I've got health ramifications of something that I was forced to take, everybody that's along that thread of forcing me to take it, of course they're going to be held accountable. Now, I have seen and heard, and again, maybe somebody that's a lawyer that watches can leave us a comment. I have heard, if you read in the small print, that when you agree to take the vaccination, you turn over your legal rights to sue that pharmaceutical company.
I have also heard that. I don't know. Like
so is that going to be a carve out, or do we end up being able to supersede that through a class action lawsuit? Whether you're for it, whether you're against it, what is the solution? What is the workaround? To me, put a sign up that says, do not enter here without showing your vaccination card. That's cool. I know where you stand. I won't be visiting you. For those that don't, let us know. It's okay. Or don't even say anything. Just say welcome. Gosh. And I know I can come in.
Coach, it makes me so sad to see a divide like that, though. I just hate the divide. I get it. I understand where you're coming from.
It's not a divide. It's not a divide. Tell me where you stand so that way I can make a choice. The sooner we make those stands, we will quickly see which of the decisions, economically I'm speaking, which of the decisions allows you to survive and not survive, and then let the rest of, because we've already got, I'm not going to say a lot of people, I don't know the exact numbers, you may know them. I don't know how many people have been vaccinated as a percentage of our total population, but when you tell me that the vaccination keeps me from getting sick and people are getting sick, and when you tell me that taking the vaccine is going to stop the spreading and it's spreading, and you're telling me masks stop the spreading and they're still spreading even though they're wearing masks, haven't we gotten enough information to say, if you want to wear it, wear it. If you want to get vaccinated, but we need to move on. You mentioned that Marv has COVID. So if the promoters decide that they are pro-vaccine, does that become the employer? And now if you're not vaccinated, we're not allowed to go racing as a team, as a rider, as a mechanic? Because that's a direction that everybody's pushing this towards. And you're going to sit here and say, okay, and I don't know, maybe you've heard, I haven't heard, is Marv vaccinated?
I don't know.
So you talk about creating a shitstorm pretty quickly. Let's go variable A. He's not vaccinated. Okay. So he comes down with COVID. So he got it from somebody. He's going to go home. He's going to have to quarantine because, hey guys, let's stop using quarantine. When you and I were in 8th grade and we had the flu, your mom and dad say, keep your ass home. You don't go to school. And your
That's
mom and
a
dad
big problem right now.
Yeah. And your mom and dad fed you in your room and you didn't go visit your grandparents. Your ass stayed in the room. Okay.
Yes.
But wait a second. I didn't know X person beside me had it, right? So I go to the races. Oh shit, I got a virus. I don't feel good. I go get tested as COVID. It's got a title. I'm no longer sick. I have COVID. Now, let's say that Marvin did have the vaccine and he comes down with COVID, because we've seen that if you have the vaccine, you can still get it. All right. Here's where I'm trying to get at. It doesn't matter, because all the mechanics around them, the team members, the truck drivers, everybody's going, okay, so go get tested for COVID. You're either going to be positive or negative, and then you apply accordingly. If you got sick and then you're around your sister and then your sister got sick, it wasn't 6 o'clock news. And you go, yeah, but people can die from it. People have died from the flu. People have died from chickenpox. People have died from all kinds of shit that seems relatively benign. Where are we going to move on?